Washington County. Thank you for tuning in to 15 Minutes with Fuzz. My name is Fuzz Martin, and this is a show about all the positive things happening here in Washington County, Wisconsin. Before we get started, I started blogging again. You can find my new blog, like it's something that just came up in 2010. You can find my new blog at fuzzmartin.com. I found out this past weekend while I was working on it that I've actually owned fuzzmartin.com since February of 2002. I never, ever imagined owning a domain for more than 20 years. That blows my mind. I actually started my original website, fuzzmartin.com, because the radio station, 92.5 WBWI at the time, wasn't technologically progressive enough to start a website. So I started my own and then started talking about it on the air. And then the boss got upset that I was always plugging my website and sending people there for information and things. And eventually they decided the radio station needed one. So they asked me to create it, which I did. And they didn't pay me for it. But I learned a lot. And I learned some lessons by putting in the work that I never would have learned otherwise. And I think maybe that's the biggest lesson. But also pay me. This week, I am speaking with two very colorful members of the Kettle Moraine Symphony Orchestra. Dr. Richard Hynson is the director of the symphony and also works with the bel canto chorus. And Peter Gibeau is the principal bass player and also the secretary of the symphony's board of directors. They join me this week to talk about the symphony and its upcoming performance of Brahms Requiem, which is coming up on Sunday, May 21st at Concordia, University, Wisconsin, in the Field House. It's going to be an absolutely huge performance, and I had a lot of fun talking to both Rick and Peter, and I'm sure you're going to have a great time listening. And with that, here are 15 minutes on Brahms Requiem by the bel canto chorus and the Kettle Moraine Symphony Orchestra with Dr. Richard Hynson and Peter Gibeau on 15 Minutes with Fuzz. Welcome you both to 15 Minutes with Fuzz. Can you please introduce yourselves and tell us your roles in the Kettle Moraine Symphony Orchestra?
Yes. Nice to see you, Fuzz. My name is Richard Hynson, and I'm music director of the Kettle Moraine Symphony. Proudly so.
Yeah. Hi, Fuzz. My name is Peter Gibeau. I'm the principal bass player and also secretary of the board of the Kettle Moraine Symphony.
Very good. Well, I appreciate both of you coming in to the studio here with me today. Can you tell us about the mission of the Kettle Moraine Symphony Orchestra? What's behind it?
Well, the mission is something that the orchestra has really refined over the years, but it is to provide outstanding orchestral performances that engage the community and inspire and educate audiences of all ages. And we tend to skew our programming toward younger families, but we find that as we work to bring in younger families, the older people, the people who have grown up listening to symphony orchestras, to live music, find our programming to be fascinating, and they can come with their grandkids, and it's a wonderful experience.
I recently got to experience the Kettle Moraine Symphony Orchestra at the Volunteer Center of Washington County's Champions of Change event, and actually, Peter, I was standing next to you on stage for a bit as the bass player, right?
Right.
But it was amazing. You guys sound fantastic, and that theater sounds really good as well. But
it does, yeah.
I was, and we had a good span of ages at that event, and everybody seemed to love it.
Right. There were high school students and some Kettle Moraine players. So that was a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun. Speaking of that, can you guys share some of the Kettle Moraine Symphony Orchestra's most memorable performances or achievements that you guys have had over the years?
Well, Peter's actually been involved with this a lot longer than I have. So, Peter, why don't you start, and then I can throw in my 2 cents.
All right. Well, most recently, just the concerts we've done over the last several years we keep getting better, which is really fantastic. So I've been playing principal bass with the orchestra for the last 31 years.
Wow.
When we started, we weren't all that good, and it was a lot more fun for the players than it was for the audience. And fortunately, that has changed a lot, especially since Rick joined us.
So yeah, let's elaborate on that. What would you say brought that change to the symphony?
Well, part of the mission, actually, the original mission was more, well, this is a good opportunity for local musicians to play. And it's fun for the musicians. And sitting in the audience, the standards were not very high. If we could, I remember in early rehearsals, if we could get through a piece without the wheels falling off, this was successful, and then it would go on. Rick, on the other hand, even if the wheels are firmly in place, there's always something. There's always some way to make it better.
There is,
and
indeed.
This is great. I mean, as an orchestra, we have just come so far. It's just wonderful.
So, Rick, tell us about your role then and refining that. How you came in, you said 6 years ago, and
I started 6 years ago, and I came in with the idea, and in fact, with the authority of the board to build the orchestra, that it was clearly time for this ensemble to take a role in the quality of life of the community, that our performances should inspire and educate, as our mission statement says. And so that means we had to perform at a level that would engage our audience. And that means that musicians, they're kind of like acrobats that are performing without a net. They could fall at any moment and, crash and burn. But when you rehearse properly, when you pick the right repertoire, when you plan things out so people can really engage their talents to their fullest capability, you can create some pretty extraordinary music making. And the goal then is, we humans are such social animals. We need to experience not only something live, but something live together. And so when we're sitting in an audience, we're not only seeing and hearing what's on stage, but we're experiencing the reactions of the people around us. And that engagement, that energy, synergy, I'd call it, that goes between performance members and audience members creates an energy that is, you can't replicate it in any other way.
Well, that's wonderful. And you described it perfectly. I guess I never thought to put that to words. And now tell us about your background. Like, how did you get into this role as director? What did you come from another director role to the Kettle Moraine Symphony?
I have straddled the worlds of choral music and orchestral music my entire career. So that's 40 years or so of conducting. And the most recent orchestra I had before Kettle Moraine Symphony was the Milwaukee Chamber Orchestra. That's made up of all members of the Milwaukee Symphony. So that was just a different experience. And the repertoire we did was very different because here in Washington County, the role of the Kettle Moraine Symphony is I'll call it a gateway drug, to classical music.
Sure.
We are first and foremost the experience that young students will have of a live symphony orchestra. A lot of adults have never been to a live orchestra concert, and so I program with that in mind. With the Milwaukee Chamber Orchestra, I was programming rather esoteric works that the MSO players wanted to play. And so, but what I'm finding, Peter, and Peter will enjoy this, some of those works that I did with MCO, I'm now able to program with Kettle Moraine Symphony, and the audience loves them.
Great.
And that experience, we're doing works by Shostakovich and Stravinsky, and those are big names that are a little scary to people who've never been to an orchestra concert. But why tell them the names? When they come and they know they're going to see grandma or dad up playing in the orchestra, but more importantly, they know they're going to experience a beautiful performance. It doesn't matter whose music it is until they want to do more. I want to hear more of that. And so we just did the Pulcinella Suite by Stravinsky, and it's neoclassical. You can put on your music hat and explain it in very esoteric terms. but in reality, it's simply gorgeous.
And it was fun.
Yeah.
I mean,
Captivating.
That was a gas.
So our job with Kettle Moraine Symphony is to make this music and the act of live performance so compelling that people want to come no matter what we play.
Mm-hmm. And so now, Peter, when you got started at Kettle Moraine Symphony, what was the group like? What compelled you to join the Kettle Moraine Symphony?
Well, Bud Ash, who started the group, was a professor at then UWWC, and I just met him when I got the job. I said, "Oh, hi, I'm Peter." Introduced myself, and I mentioned I play piano and bass. He said, "Oh, you're in the orchestra then?" I said, "Okay, I guess I am."
You were voluntold.
I was voluntold, exactly, and I haven't left.
I don't think we established that at the beginning. You are the professor of music. Is that what it is at UWM, Washington County?
Yes, correct.
And Rick, what is your role on?
Well, my primary job is as music director of the Bel Canto Chorus in Milwaukee. And I've done that for 35 years. Oh my gosh.
Wow.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, but I've conducted orchestras. I conducted the Waukegan Symphony for a number of years. I've conducted other orchestras in the area. Guest conducted them, and then I did the Milwaukee Chamber Orchestra for 8 years, and now Kettle Moraine Symphony.
So I think the conversation on the Bel Canto Chorus transitions nicely into the Kettle Moraine Symphony has an event coming up on May 21st it's at Concordia University.
Concordia University in the Field House.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And the reason we're in the Field House is this is an epic performance. This is a gigantic musical experience. Gigantic in a lot of different ways.
Okay.
I mean, we have a lot of singers. We have 6 choruses involved. So my Bel Canto chorus, Peter's Moraine chorus, those are both adult choruses, and that makes a little over 100 adults.
Oh, wow.
And then we have 4 high school choruses, the top choruses from 4 different high schools, and that comes to a little over 100 students. And their teachers are also going to sing too. So we'll have, I think, 220 singers.
Oh, wow.
So we're pulling out 3 sections of bleachers, and everybody's going to stand up in the bleachers. And then the orchestra will be in front on the basketball court.
Wow. Have you played a field house before?
I haven't. Well, that's not true. So Bel Canto performed with Pavarotti in the United Center down in Chicago about 10 years ago.
I guess that counts as a field house.
Yeah, that's a field. That's a big basketball court. So, that's the closest I can get, I think. But the sound is astonishingly good. I think, Peter, you haven't played it yet, but
no.
I think we'll be pleased with how it works, and it will be a place where people can gather. Families are going to come, the families of the students, and I know we've already sold half the house, and there's still 2 weeks to go. We haven't even released our publicity information for either Bel Canto or KMS. So we've just started, letting people know. So my assumption is that we're going to be full. We're going to have a full house.
And how big is that house?
750, I think,
Okay.
750
All right.
people. And so it'll be, I think we'll have a great hall. We have, and what's so exciting about this, Fuzz, is that we're giving these 100+ students their first taste of creating a masterpiece, a full concert length work in a foreign language with a symphony orchestra and with 2 professional soloists.
So let's talk about that for a moment. So it's Brahms.
Brahms ein deutsches Requiem.
There
Sounds all right. But so taking the German accent away, it's actually and Peter, you can talk about this at length. Peter is so knowledgeable in all of this. But so Brahms wrote this, and he said, I'm calling it a German Requiem, but it's really a Requiem for all mankind. He thought of it as global in its intention, because it's not a Requiem directed toward the departed soul, like all the other requiems that were written up into that time, very Catholic and somewhat dark, and then finding redemption. Instead, this is a requiem for those left behind, for the people who are mourning the loss of whoever died. And that sense of comfort, of reconciliation with the loss, and the beauty of coming together to mourn the departed, I think makes this requiem conciliatory and an important statement for our society today. Would you say? What do you think, Peter?
Oh, yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, the first chorus is, selig sind die da Leid tragen, denn sie sollen getröstet werden. So, blessed are those who mourn, but Leid tragen is literally who carry sorrow. Just imagine the weight, for they shall be comforted. So it's all about comforting the living.
You obviously have some German training.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, that sounds amazing. Which schools are going to be performing with you?
So the West Bend High School is local, and then we have Germantown High School, we have Shorewood High School, and we have Hartford Union High School. So the choral programs in each of those schools are some of the best in the state. So we have very focused, dynamic young singers who are ecstatic is maybe a little over the top, but but being able to be a part of this, to be able to sing with adults. Where else can you find high school students doing something to the very best of their abilities and finding adults who can help them, can mentor them to make them even better? That kind of intergenerational connection just doesn't happen in our society anymore.
Absolutely. Again, it sounds like it's going to be a fantastic event, and it is on Sunday, May 21st. Is that correct?
At 3 p.m.
Where can people find information about the event?
They can go to the Bel Canto website, which is www.belcanto.org. And Bel Canto has a ticketing service so that they can order very easily and quickly through the Bel Canto website. That's the best way to do it.
Okay, and the concert's at 3 p.m. Is that
3
right?
p.m.
Yeah. All right.
And I'm just going to put a plug in here. At 2:15, I'm giving a pre-concert talk.
Okay.
So I'm going to talk about, there's a 3-note motive that Brahms uses in all 7 movements of this piece. And he flips it upside down, he makes it go backwards, rotates it 180 degrees, and it's in every movement. And if you're not aware of it, it doesn't matter because it's a gorgeous piece. But when you are aware of it, suddenly there are all these things that just jump out at you.
Sure.
Peter's so right. And actually, I'll piggyback on his plug because he's modest. These things are so popular. These pre-concert talks, in fact, the last 4 or 5 of them have been, standing room only. People come early. We get 50, 60, maybe for this performance, we'll have over 100 people. And Peter's not only done the pre-concert talks, which are always so engaging, but he has worked with a German teacher to focus on how the text edifies the music. And so she's approaching it from a textual standpoint, and we're releasing those videos through the KMS website and through Bel Canto, I think on Facebook. I think Facebook is where those are coming out. But they are designed not only to remind people that the concert's coming up, but here's a dimension you might not have thought about. So we have plenty of material for people to ingest before they come.
Great. Putting something of this magnitude together with a number of different, 4 different schools, the Bel Canto Chorus, the Kettle Moraine Symphony. First of all, how long do you start practicing and rehearsing this? And then do you all come together and rehearse together? And if so, 200 people in a rehearsal space?
So what you'll be so proud of our high schools, our kids to know is that the teachers started these students last semester on it. Many of them, and the Marine Chorus also did 3 of the movements on a concert they had in December. So we really began actually preparing, meeting together and rehearsing back in October of last year. The project itself was suggested first, I think I proposed it November of the year before that, while we were still coming out of COVID. You know, this is something that I felt so strongly that people have been, kept away from one another for so long, that this was a great project for the schools. It was a great project for the orchestra. And honestly, for bel canto and the Moraine chorus, these young singers are the next generation of singers and audience. So everybody wins with this project.
So when you put something together like this and it takes so much time, how do you focus on the next thing that's going to happen, right? So how does next year start in October then for you again?
Actually, I proposed our season for next season, our programming for next season, back in, I think the first iteration of it was last November. And we've been tweaking it and making changes and lining up dates, getting venues. So I think we have a great season lined up for next year. So I think we'll announce, both bel canto and KMS, I think, are going to announce our seasons in the program during the Brahms. So it should be, an exciting opportunity to look forward into the next year.
Excellent. Peter, after this and around this, because I know you guys put on performances all the time, right? So what else do you have going on with Kettle Moraine Symphony aside from this Brahms Requiem?
Oh, well, Kettle Moraine Symphony, the Brahms has been our focus.
Oh, it has?
For the last concert. I mean, we just did, in March, we played at the Bend.
Okay.
And Rick was talking about the Stravinsky Pulcinella. The Bend has beautiful acoustics, and it just sounds great in there. But then since then, I've been just practicing the Brahms.
Exactly.
It's a
mouthful.
big piece.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
So I can give you some hints about the coming season.
Sure.
We're going to focus on the dance for the first concert. We're going to do all sorts of different styles of dances with our music, going all the way from, we'll do a Viennese waltz. We'll go back to do early dances from Baroque era that were then reimagined by a modern Italian composer named Respighi. And then we will end with a piece called Danson numero due by Marquez, a South American composer. It's hauntingly beautiful work that I think will link into we're looking at trying to make a connection with the Hispanic population up here. We feel very strongly that our music and the idea of live performance is what everybody wants. They just don't know they want it yet. So we have to meet them and introduce them to our music making and convince them that this can be an important part of their lives.
Certainly. Well, Richard, Peter, thank you both for coming in here. This is an amazing amount of knowledge that I had a direction I was going to go with the questions, but your stories and your descriptions of the music and the experience are amazing. And I'm looking forward to the concert on May 21st at Concordia University, Wisconsin. Thank you both for coming in, and thanks for all you do.
Thank you so much, Fuzz. Well, just have us back so that we can tell you more about what we do.
I
love it.
We'll definitely do that.
Thank you, Fuzz.
Thanks, Bud.
Thank you again to Dr. Rick Hynson and Peter Gibeau for joining me on this week's episode of 15 Minutes with Fuzz. Again, Brahms Requiem is taking place at Concordia University of Wisconsin in the Fieldhouse on Sunday, May 21st, 2023 at 3 p.m. It's going to be a great concert, and I hope you can make it. More details are available at kmsymphony.org. If you have an idea for a guest on 15 Minutes with Fuzz, please help me out by going to fuzz.cc/guest. That is fuzz.cc/guest, and enter into the form there. who you think I should be on the show. You can also email me 15withfuzz@gmail.com. That's 15 spelled out with fuzz at gmail.com. That'll do it for this week. Thanks again for listening, and I will talk to you next week right here on 15 Minutes with Fuzz.